Pleasant Lake and Dublin. It's Miss Emke here with this week's Social Emotional Learning lesson. This week, I want to talk about the zones of regulation. With everything going on this school year, like our school closing and all the changes that we've had to make, like doing our classwork at home, meeting with our teachers over Zoom, and social distancing, I think it's really important to review the zones of regulations, but really focus on the yellow zone and what kind of things we can do to get ourselves back into the green zone to keep our mind healthy. So before we focus on the yellow zone this week, let's just do a quick review of all of our zones. We have the blue zone when we're feeling sick, sad, tired, bored, or moving very slowly. We have our green zone, which is where we want to be. In the green zone, we feel happy, calm, feeling okay, focused, and ready to learn. The green zone is when we're able to make good choices. We're going to move over to our red zone. Our red zone is when we're mad, angry, mean, yelling, hitting, disgusted, or out of control. And lastly, what we're going to talk about more this week is our yellow zone, where we feel frustrated, worried, silly or wiggly, excited, loss of some control, or we can even feel anxious or scared. It's okay to be in the red, yellow, and blue zones, but we really want to be in the green zone. To understand our emotions better, I just want to talk a little bit about our brain. And Gizmo's going to help me here. So when we're in the green zone, we use a part of our brain right in front here that's called the frontal lobe. When we feel calm and happy and we're in control, we use our frontal lobe to make informed decisions, meaning we can make good choices and clearly think about the actions that we're doing. Now I want you to think about something that could happen that would put you into the yellow zone. For example, if your schoolwork is too hard and you don't know how to do it, that could cause some stress and definitely put you into the yellow zone. These are called stress triggers. Another example of a stress trigger could be worrying about what school is going to look like next year. All these stress triggers are events that could put us into the yellow zone. When we move from the green zone into the yellow zone, our frontal lobe, when we're in the green zone, stops working, and our hypothalamus in the back of the brain kicks on. When our hypothalamus kicks in, it's a lot harder to make good decisions, good logical decisions, because we have a harder time using our frontal lobe. When our hypothalamus is in control, it can trigger cues in our body, which help us know whether we're in the yellow zone or not. For example, when we're experiencing stress or we're scared or anxious, sometimes our heart beats a little bit faster, we might get stomach aches, it can be hard to sleep. Sometimes we just have a lot of thoughts all at once that don't seem to stop. These are all examples of body cues, and you know that your hypothalamus is in control. The good news is we can be in control of our stress, and we can use the tools in our toolbox, or also called coping strategies, to get back into the green zone so our frontal lobe can take over again. So now I want to talk about some coping strategies that we can use to get ourselves back into the green zone and manage our stress. I want you to understand that body cues and stress triggers are different for everybody. Something that might make me nervous or afraid won't necessarily make somebody else feel nervous or afraid. Also, my coping strategies might not work for other people because we're all different. And my suggestion is to take some of the examples in this video and try them. If they don't work for you, try them again. And if they still don't work, then it's probably time to try something else. The first coping skill I want to talk about is probably the most common one, and that's deep breathing. I hear a lot of students say, this doesn't work for me, but I want to make sure, first of all, that we're doing the deep breathing correctly, and I'm also going to prove to you that deep breathing does help because it can lower your heart rate. So, the proper way to do a deep breath is to breathe in through your nose for 3 seconds. You can pretend you're smelling a flower or smelling a cup of hot chocolate, whatever you want to imagine. Just breathe in through your nose for 3 seconds and out through your mouth for 3 seconds, like you're blowing out the candle on a cake. So it should look something like this. Okay, so now to prove to you that deep breathing does work, I want you to look at my heart rate right now. My heart rate is at 81 beats per minute. So now I am going to do 3 deep breaths, the best I can, and then we're going to look at my heart rate again and see if it's lower. Ready? And you can do them with me and see if you feel a difference. So ready and go. Okay, let's take a look at my heart rate. It's down to 72. That's a pretty big drop for just 3 deep breaths. Imagine what would happen if I took 10. Now remember, everybody's stress body cues and stress triggers are different, so their coping skills might look different too. Some students have to do deep breaths to get their heart rate down to manage their stress, while sometimes it's good to get our heart rate up to get the stress out of our body. The best way to do that is just a simple exercise. You can choose anything you enjoy, like riding your bike, shooting a basketball. Some students like to use Wii Fit. But if you don't have any of those things, the simplest way to exercise is just to do movements, like jumping jacks, push-ups, burpees, or just take a run around the block. The third coping strategy I want to talk about today is distracting yourself. When we distract our mind, we're getting our mind to focus on something other than what's making us scared, worried, or anxious. To distract your mind, think of things that you like to do that you just enjoy. For example, I have this coloring book that I like to use when I'm feeling stress. It has all these tiny little flowers in it, and it takes a lot of concentration to stay in the lines. Another way you can distract yourself is to do arts and crafts, read a book, watch your favorite show. It's also good to laugh. When we laugh, a little bit of stress kind of leaves our body. But if you don't have any of these things available, like if you're in the classroom or on the bus, you can distract your mind in other ways. For example, look around the room and try and find 10 things that are green. If you're on the bus, look out the window and try and count how many yellow cars you pass. A fourth coping strategy that's always really good to do when you're in the yellow zone is to talk to a trusted adult. A trusted adult can be your parents, grandparents, aunt, uncle, teacher, principal, or social worker. I want you to think of at least 2 people in your life that you trust to talk to when you're feeling worried or anxious. When we talk about what's going on in our head and what we're thinking about, it feels good to just get it out. It almost feels like it's leaving our body. Remember, it's okay to be in the different color zones. Everybody experiences the red zone, the yellow zone, and the blue zone. But what's important is that we don't stay in those zones too long. We want to use our coping strategies to get back into the green zone so our frontal lobe is in control and we are ready to learn and we can make those good expected choices. With all the changes that have happened in the last few months, it's really easy to find ourselves in the yellow zone more often. That's why it's so important that we continue to practice these coping strategies. because the more we practice them, the better we are at them, and it's easier to manage our stress. It's also important to understand our stress triggers, or the things that put us into the yellow zone. We know we're in the yellow zone when we are able to identify our body cues. So remember, that could be feeling shaky, lightheaded, fast heart rate, wiggly and anxious, or even a stomach ache. The sooner we can recognize our body cues and know that we're in the yellow zone, the sooner we can start practicing our coping strategies and get back into the green zone. Stay healthy, Walled Lake, and I'll see you next week.